Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC Vegas 102, headlined by Gregory Rodrigues and Jared Cannonier. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. I've got a couple plays up right now, 4-unit play in there as well. And we're up over 80 units of profit over the last 12 months and got to keep it going, got to keep adding to it. Last weekend, went 3-1, a little annoyed on the 5% missing, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? We ended up losing 1 unit, picked up 7 the week before, still in profit in 2025, and gotta keep it going. So with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Gregory Rodrigues and Jared Cannonier. Now, you've got Rodrigues sitting at minus 220. You got the comeback on Cannonier is plus 180. So we look at Cannonier here. This guy is a longtime UFC veteran. He's a guy that has been around. This will be his 19th professional UFC fight. Very incredible. Fought 3 divisions. This guy has been active, fought high-level guys, fought for the title against Adesanya. Didn't win it, but definitely, you know, he's a guy that's been around and fought top-level guys. Now, he is a powerhouse of a man, but time is starting to catch up with him when you're looking at it. You know, he's a guy now that is 40 years old. He's going to be 41 in March. And this is, you know, it just appears things are starting to be on the decline for him. And it is what it is. Over the last few fights, it just seems like things are starting to decline. He's looking slower, looking less explosive. And the fact that he's absorbed a ton of damage over his last 5 fights, a lot of damage. Opponents have landed 656 significant strikes over that span. And just kind of put that into context, Gregory Rodrigues absorbed 134 significant strikes over the last 5 fights for him. Now, obviously, nothing's the same. Fights could end early, whatever it is. But still, Cannonier at 40 years old is taking massive damage, and it is definitely starting to impact him overall. And one of the things that you're seeing, you know, you go back is when he's getting hit now, you know, he's definitely not absorbing the shots very well. You know, he kind of is a guy that's getting hit, backpedaling a little bit, where, you know, in the past, he's a guy that's going to stand in the pocket, throw big shots, exchange, mix it up a little bit, look to land his big bomb. And, you know, that kind of seems like he's kind of tilting backwards a little bit and allowing the opponent to dictate the pace. And also the fact that he's just not being aggressive. You know, he's not a guy that's really pushing forward. And again, he's not the guy throwing the big shots. If those two things, you know, aren't there for him anymore, and I just think this is starting to be the end of Jared Cannonier. And also you got to add in, you know, it's somewhat of a quick turnaround from his last fight, where his last beating he took against Kyle Borralho, where, you know, Borralho just pieced him up, didn't even look to really shoot takedowns, just absolutely dominated on the feet and got the victory. And I think it's just a bad sign for him. Now you look at, you know, Gregory Rodrigues, who, you know, is going to have the youth on his side to start, you know, 8 years younger. And also the fact he's going to have the faster hand speed, a lot of power when you're looking at it. And he also checks leg kicks very well. And that's really something that, you know, we have seen Cannonier will go to. We'll look to kind of chop at the legs and mix it up. I think that Gregory Rodrigues can check those and find opportunities to counter. Plus, he's going to be more well-rounded than Cannonier. And I think that, you know, sometimes we see Rodrigues fall in love with his hands. You know, he'll look to throw the big shots. I think he mixes in this wrestling is going to be a really nice path for him to find takedowns, find top control, utilize that, you know, BJJ black belt, and hunt for submissions. I think that's kind of where this could go. Or he could look for takedowns and look to land the big shots. He does have nice boxing, but I do think that overall he's going to also have the better cardio and have multiple paths to find the victory here. So I do like Gregory Rodrigues, but I like Gregory Rodrigues inside the distance is sitting around minus 130. I think it's likely path. I don't think this sees the scorecards, and Rodrigues, I think, could possibly knock him out on the feet or look for something on the ground for the finish. So I'm going Gregory Rodrigues inside the distance, minus 130. Next fight here we're going to talk about is going to be Edmen Shahbazyan, minus 375 on the comeback. You got Dylan Butka plus 260. Now, at one point, Edmen Shahbazyan was the hype train of the UFC. He come into the UFC. People were talking about this guy. Hey, he's guy could be the next big thing. Wins a couple fights. He was 11-0, had 9 first-round finishes, high-level striker, you know, flashy kicks, knockout power. I mean, the guy seemed to really have it all. And then he faced Derek Brunson and everything fell apart. You know, he pretty much got exposed, and in 2 ways. You know, he got exposed the fact that he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, and also the fact that he doesn't have the greatest cardio. And that is a terrible mix for a guy where he wants to be striking and just wrestling is very taxing, and he doesn't have the ability to really kind of keep the fight going. And it's interestingly enough that he has consistently fought wrestlers. UFC has consistently set him up with wrestlers since the Derek Brunson fight. He's on a 2-5 run and has looked very bad in certain spots. But that first round for Edmen early, he's a threat. He's dangerous. He does have, again, the finishing upside. He does have high level striking overall. And the interesting part that the UFC has once again set up Edmen Shahbazyan to face another wrestler in Dylan Butka. Now, Butka is a Division I wrestler. He does have some ability when it comes to that, but he just hasn't really put it all together. He's definitely young. He's younger than Edmen is. Overall in his career, he's 7-4 in MMA. And I just think that, Butka, yes, the path is there for him to utilize some of that wrestling, but I feel like he's way one-dimensional. His striking is very basic, very sloppy. Opportunities there. I do think that Edmen can land big shots on Butka overall. And Butka, and again, Edmen has not, the guys that Edmen was losing to that are wrestlers are far better than Dylan Butka, where once they kind of started moving him up and saying, hey, let's face these guys, Edmen couldn't do it. Again, stylistically, not the best, but overall, Edmen, I think he's the guy that's going to have far better striking, big time power overall. And in that first round, he can somewhat defend these takedowns. It's not that his takedown defense is completely trash. It's just the fact that, after defending one after the other, he just starts to wilt. He almost starts to give up. And once he's got his back to the ground, I mean, the guy almost wants to, wave the white flag at that particular point. I don't see Butka being able to just completely wash him, first round to third round and just dominate. I just don't really see that part of it. I think that, Butka is very hittable when he's coming forward. He shoots naked takedowns. I think that's going to be opportunity big time for Edmen to land the kill shot. So in this spot here, I do like Edmen Shahbazyan, but we're going to go Edmen Shahbazyan KO in round 1 or 2, and that's sitting around plus 190. I think he gets the job done. I kind of lean more towards the first round, but you're getting a nice plus 190 number on the first 2 rounds. Give me Edmen Shahbazyan to get the knockout in the first 2 rounds. Next one here we're going to talk about is Angela Hill minus 110, Ketlen Souza minus 110. Now, this is a fight here where you've got, UFC vet in Hill versus the newcomer in Souza. And this line was sitting around minus 150 long ago. Even some were even higher than that. And money has consistently come in on Ketlen. And I get it. I do get it. It's more of a recency bias thing when you're kind of looking at this here, where it's pretty much the fact that Souza got a knockout. That obviously looks great. It's going to be a lot of replay value. And also the fact that Hill's 40. Now, Hill is a different 40 than I think that Jared Cannonier is, where, Cannonier has taken a lot of damage. He's been in a lot of wars. And just overall, it just kind of seems like the end, where Hill on the other side here, I don't really feel like she has had this fall off a cliff moment. She is a journeyman fighter overall. She is at the tail end of her career. There's no doubt about that. 17-14 pro MMA career, not great. But again, you just haven't seen the overall decline of her. And if anything, we maybe have seen a little bit of a resurgence from her, where now she's on a 4-2 run, and her only 2 losses in that span were to Mackenzie Dern and Tabitha Ricci. And, at least she's losing to higher level fighters. She's losing to these higher level fighters, and I give her at least some kind of respect on that, where she's beating, these mid-range, lower level type of fighters, not beating the higher level fighters. And that's kind of been, the MO of her career at this point here, where Ketlen, I think that she needs the knockout. I think she absolutely needs the knockout. I think that's really her only path. I kind of feel like in this spot here, where everything she throws, 100% power, she's going to throw big time power in everything that she throws, and she's going to utilize that forward pressure. She's going to look to come forward, really mix it up, make it a brawl, and that's where she can find success. And I just don't believe that Ketlen can win a point, a 3-round point fighting kind of fight here. And I think that kind of suits Angela Hill a little bit better. And I just feel that Souza is going to look for takedowns. She's going to look to throw the big shots. Everything's going to be a finishing type of combination. And Hill can use her experience, I think, at this point. I think she's going to be the more technical striker. I think she's going to be, have the better footwork, cleaner combinations. I think also the fact that I do like that Hill, she pushes a nice volume, so when Souza's throwing these big shots, she can look to throw, nice volume, get out of, stick and move, get out of any danger and continue to do that. And I think that's kind of where this fight goes here. So I do like Angela Hill. I do think it's probably by points that she gets the job done. But at this particular price here, even money, I like Angela Hill minus 110. Now, the last one here we're going to talk about is going to be Gabriel Bonfim minus 220 on the comeback here. We've got Khaos Williams. He is plus 180. Now, Bonfim is a well-rounded fighter and a guy that does have finishing ability. Out of his 16 professional wins, he's got 12 submissions, 3 knockouts, 1 by decision, and he's got solid boxing, fast hands, and really a high level when it comes to just his grappling ability. And he's just very technical everywhere. Solid boxing. Once he's on the ground, will hunt for the finish. Very slick on the ground overall. But obviously, it's not the best look getting completely melted by Nicholas Dalby. And, not the greatest, but early, it looked like Bonfim was doing his thing. Looked like he was almost on to a finish when he was really pushing it, but he was looking to really push the pace. He was pushing for that finish, couldn't get it. In the second round, he gets finished. Not the best for him, but again, it did start to add some questions. Some people call it a fraud check. I think it was just a very interesting fight, and I think he just wasn't used to some type of resistance. A guy that's had at that time, had 100% finish rate. He's just not used to the resistance. And then the interesting part was in the next fight, he fought Angelosa, and Angelosa, I don't really rate him very high at all, but he went 3 rounds with him, which I think is good. I think that's nice to see that Bonfim can last the 3 rounds. But in general, I think it starts to speak to some of the lower level guys that he was fighting, that he can run through, take down, submit you, good night, fight over. Now he's starting to face the next level up. He's starting to face battle-tested guys like Dalby. He's starting to face guys, that have been around a little bit in Losa, that are, at least he's fighting guys like that. Now he's fighting another guy in Khaos Williams, who's been around, who's been in the UFC, who is, a guy that does present certain threats, and he's very explosive. He hits very hard, and he's been proven to be durable. He's been in some battles, and he's been proven to be durable. And the other part here, I think that will cause Bonfim some problems, is how Khaos Williams comes forward and blitzes. And that could keep Bonfim on the back foot, which could make it tough for level changes, could make it tough because obviously the bigger power is going to be coming from Khaos Williams. And I think there's going to be an interesting dynamic with that, with the strength advantage. I think that also that Khaos Williams will have. You add in a 5-inch reach advantage. I think these are things where the fight may end up a lot closer than this line indicates. And I think there could be struggles when it comes to the boxing. If it stays on the feet, I think the 5-inch reach advantage and the power dynamic that Khaos Williams is going to have, I think it's going to make certain rounds pretty close. And then also the fact I think there can be some competitive when it comes to the takedowns. I think that, again, Williams is going to have the strength advantage, and I think that could keep him upright, depending on what's going on. I think he could keep him upright in those spots. And Bonfim also may look to be a little more patient. Now he's learning a little bit. Now he's gaining more experience at the higher level. He may not look to say, hey, I'm going to run through Khaos Williams. I don't think he thinks that. I don't even think that he will do that. But I think he's going to be patient. He knows he wants to get this victory here. And also the fact that he does have high level grappling. The wrestling is a little bit challenging for him, not the cleanest overall. And I do think there will be close rounds here, but I do like Gabriel Bonfim to get the job done. But we're going to get a little different here. Now, I know that Bonfim is a finisher, but I'm actually going to go Gabriel Bonfim by points, and that is sitting around plus 265. And I like it. Again, this is another tough fight for him. Since the little step up that he took, between Losa and Dalby, from some of these prior guys he was fighting, he lost the fight and went 3 rounds. So I think that, Khaos Williams presents a lot of problems here. I think there could be certain rounds there's going to be close, but I still like Gabriel Bonfim to get the job done via points plus 265. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 102. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. Like the video on the way out. And we got a lot of events coming up. So keep it locked here and see you next week. Let's cash.